Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the star of our show, Terry.
Hey everyone, welcome back to The Music and Me, the podcast where we dive into the stories behind the songs that make us feel all the things. I'm your host Terry, and today we are taking a musical trip to one of the greatest cities on earth, New York City, which I will be doing in just 2 short weeks. I'm so excited. Now, NYC isn't just famous for its foldable pizza slices, which I will try, honking yellow taxis, or the classic "I'm walking here" moment, which I might also try. Oh no, this city has a rhythm all its own, and that rhythm pulses through some of the most iconic music venues ever built. From massive arenas that echo with the sound of legends to historic theaters steeped in soul, and even those intimate, dimly lit spots where the stars of tomorrow are born. New York City has been the launchpad for every type of music you can imagine. So today, I'm taking you on an exclusive backstage tour of 5 of these legendary venues. First up, Madison Square Garden, the place where careers aren't just made, they're etched into the history books. Then we'll step into the dazzling Art Deco beauty of Radio City Music Hall, where music and glamour collide, which I will get to tour when I'm in New York City. I'm so excited for that. After that, we're going to head uptown to the Apollo Theater, the heartbeat of Harlem, where icons like Ella Fitzgerald and James Brown started their legendary careers. Then we're going to be heading downtown to the Bowery Ballroom, the indie rock haven where future stars like The Strokes and LCD Sound System had their early gigs before exploding onto the world stage. And if that wasn't enough, we'll also be checking out the Metropolitan Opera House, the epitome of grandeur and artistry in NYC's cultural landscape. From Elvis and Beyoncé to Frank Sinatra and Amy Winehouse, these stages have been graced by music royalty. So buckle up because we're about to dive into the magic behind these iconic venues and uncover the legendary performances that defined them. Grab your ticket, find your seat, and get ready for the show of a lifetime. The lights are dimming, the crowd is buzzing, and I'm about to take you on an unforgettable ride through New York City's most famous music venues. All right, let's go big, really big, with Madison Square Garden, also known as the world's most famous arena. And trust me, that title is well earned. Before we get into the legendary performances, let's talk about its origins. Did you know there have actually been 4 different Madison Square Gardens? Yep, the first one opened in 1879 at Madison Avenue and 26th Street. It was an open-air arena mostly used for things like boxing matches and horse shows. But when that one was torn down, another one popped up in 1890, this time designed by famous architect Stanford White. The second version was absolutely stunning, featuring a grand tower modeled after the Giralda in Seville, Spain. Fast forward to 1925, and a third Madison Square Garden was built, but not where the original 2 stood. This one moved to 8th Avenue and 50th Street and became the go-to venue for everything from heavyweight boxing matches to political conventions. Then, in 1968, we got the current MSG, which was a game changer. Unlike the previous versions, this one was built right above Penn Station, making it the first ever arena constructed over an active railway station. It was a bold move, and today, thousands of commuters pass underneath it every single day, totally unaware that some of the most legendary concerts in history have happened just above their heads. But let's be real, MSG isn't just another concert venue. If you're an artist, playing here isn't just a gig, it's a career milestone. It's like a musician's version of getting a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Over the decades, MSG has hosted some of the most iconic concerts in music history. So let's talk about a few standouts. First, Elvis Presley. When the king of rock and roll finally performed in NYC in 1972, it was a big deal. Believe it or not, he had never played a full concert in the city before. The demand for tickets was so insane that scalpers, were selling them for up to 30 times the face value. Wow. Fans absolutely lost their minds, and those shows solidified MSG as the place for career-defining performances. Next, we have John Lennon's last live performance. It was one of the most emotional moments in MSG history, and it happened in 1974, when John Lennon made a surprise appearance at Elton John's concert. It would turn out to be his final live performance. Just imagine being in the crowd, watching a Beatle walk on stage unannounced. Pure magic. I wish I was there, but I wasn't born yet. Next, we have Billy Joel's residency. If anyone has claimed MSG as their second home, it's Billy Joel. He's performed here over 140 times and has held a monthly residency since 2014. The craziest part? Every single show sells out. That is how much New York loves their piano man. Then we have the 9/11 tribute concert. In 2001, MSG hosted the concert for New York City, a massive benefit concert to honor first responders and those affected by the September 11th attacks. The lineup was insane. Paul McCartney, The Who, David Bowie, Elton John, and so many more came together to put on an unforgettable night of music and resilience. Lastly, we have Michael Jackson's 30th anniversary special. Just before 9/11, MSG held one of the most watched concerts of all time, the Michael Jackson 30th anniversary special in 2001. It featured Britney Spears, Whitney Houston, Usher, and even a full Jackson 5 reunion. Millions of people around the world tuned in to watch, making it one of the most iconic televised concerts ever. That would have been so cool to be at that concert. Any of these concerts. Maybe I'll get to see Madison Square Garden while I'm in New York City. I don't know how far it is from where we're going, or if I'll have time. Now, here's some MSG fun facts that you might not know. Unlike traditional rectangular arenas, MSG was designed in a circular shape so that there's not a single bad seat in the house. So whether you're in the front row or way up in the 300s, you get an amazing view of the stage. Here's another fun fact, or maybe not so fun fact. Until its major renovation in the 1990s, MSG ceiling was made of asbestos-coated tiles. It was originally designed to improve the acoustics, but yeah, asbestos. Luckily, they fixed that one. Next, artists who perform at MSG often rave about its state-of-the-art acoustics. Thanks to the venue's unique design and upgrades, musicians say they can literally feel their own voices bouncing back perfectly. It's like MSG was built for live music. Next, while Billy Joel holds the record for the most solo performances, the Grateful Dead takes the title for the most band performances at MSG, with a staggering 52 shows. Deadheads basically turn the place into their own personal jam session. Another fun fact, MSG almost got demolished. In recent years, there's been serious talk about tearing down MSG to expand Penn Station. Thankfully, it hasn't happened yet, but with all the city's redevelopment plans, its future is still up in the air. At the end of the day, Madison Square Garden isn't just a building, it's a symbol of musical greatness. The biggest names in music have stood on that stage, pouring their hearts out to packed crowds. The walls of this arena have absorbed the sounds of history from rock to pop, hip-hop to jazz. For fans, attending a concert at MSG isn't just about the music, it's about being part of something bigger. Whether it's Elvis shaking up NYC for the first time, John Lennon's last ever performance, or Billy Joel proving month after month that he's the ultimate New Yorker. Every show at MSG becomes part of its legacy. So the next time you're in the city, walking past 33rd Street and 7th Avenue, take a moment to look up at the famous circular arena. You're standing in front of a place where music history is made night after night. If I'm on 33rd Street and 7th Avenue, I'm hoping to see Madison Square Garden. I don't think it's on our list of places we're visiting, but hey, I can hope. Now, let's trade the massive high energy arena vibes for something a little more elegant, glamorous, and absolutely iconic. Radio City Music Hall. Nestled in the heart of Rockefeller Center, this legendary venue is dripping with old school charm, and the second you step inside, you're transported to another era. Radio City Music Hall opened its doors in 1932, right in the middle of the Great Depression. Times were tough, but this place was designed to be an escape, a place where people could forget their worries for a little while and experience something truly magical. And trust me, it delivers. And I will find that out firsthand when I get to tour Radio City Music Hall in just 2 weeks. I'm so excited. The moment you walk in, you're greeted by a stunning grand foyer, sparkling chandeliers, and a golden glow that makes everything feel like a classic Hollywood dream. It's pure Art Deco perfection, like stepping into a movie from the golden age of Hollywood. But what really makes Radio City special? The performances. Over the years, some of the greatest entertainers of all time have graced this stage, and each show adds another layer to its legendary story. So here are some legendary performances at Radio City Music Hall. First, Frank Sinatra practically lived here. Okay, not literally, but Old Blue Eyes performed at Radio City so often that it felt like a second home. His smooth voice and effortless charisma made the massive venue feel like an intimate jazz club. Next, Beyoncé, Lady Gaga, and Tony Bennett. Oh my. These superstars have all put on jaw-dropping performances on the stage, proving that Radio City isn't just about nostalgia, it's where the music legends continue to make history. Next, the MTV Video Music Awards. For years, Radio City was home to the wildest, most talked about moments in VMA history. Madonna's scandalous Like a Virgin performance happened here. Britney Spears dancing with a giant albino python during I'm a Slave for You, also here. And I'm glad I missed that one because I don't like those squiggly things. Bleh. And it's giving me the heebie-jeebies just mentioning it. It's safe to say, though, that this stage has seen its fair share of iconic pop culture moments. And here's one of my favorite things that happen at Radio City Music Hall, the Tony Awards. Broadway's biggest night has been held at Radio City multiple times, making it the ultimate crossover between stage and screen. If you're a theater fan like me, you already know how legendary it is to watch the biggest stars of Broadway shine under those golden lights. And I've watched the Tony Awards for a number of years. And speaking of, this year, Cynthia Erivo will be hosting the Tony Awards, and I'm so excited because she's going to do an awesome job. I don't think it's at the Radio City Music Hall this year, though. Here's some fun facts about Radio City Music Hall. The best seat in the house? Every single one. No matter where you sit, you're never more than 160 feet from the stage, which means every performance feels intimate, even with nearly 6,000 seats in the house. Next, the ceiling is a giant dome, and it's genius. The acoustics inside Radio City are insanely good because the entire ceiling is one massive curved dome. Sound doesn't just bounce, it soars, filling the hall with the kind of rich, immersive audio that makes every performance feel larger than life. And of course, the Rockettes Christmas Spectacular has been running for almost 100 years. Since 1933, the Radio City Rockettes have been high-kicking their way into holiday tradition. Their precision, energy, and sparkle make the Christmas Spectacular one of the most beloved holiday shows in the world. And if you've never seen them live, put it on your bucket list. Too bad I'm not going at Christmas time. But hopefully I'll get to meet a Rockette. That would be cool. Here's an interesting fun fact. There is a secret apartment inside Radio City. Yep, there's a hidden apartment inside the theater. It was originally built for Samuel Roxy Rothafel, the venue's impresario, and was decked out with 20-foot-high gold ceiling, a piano, and even a fireplace. Today, it's mostly used for special events, but imagine living inside one of the world's most famous theaters. Do you think they'd let me see that apartment while I'm there? I'm going to ask. I'm probably going to embarrass my entire group. Radio City Music Hall isn't just a place to see a show, it's a place to experience history. From the moment you walk in, you can feel the magic in the air. The same stage that's seen Sinatra croon, Beyoncé slay, and Broadway's best shine has also been the setting for some of pop culture's most unforgettable moments. So whether you're there for a concert, an award show, or the Rockettes, one thing's for sure, Radio City Music Hall isn't just a venue, it's a living, breathing time capsule of entertainment history. All right, I have 3 more venues to talk about, but first, here's my interesting fact of the week. Welcome to my interesting fact of the week. Let's dive into some quirky secrets from Madison Square Garden and Radio City Music Hall, 2 of New York City's most iconic venues. First, let's talk about Madison Square Garden, which is not only famous for hosting legends, but also rumored to be haunted. The current MSG sits on the site of the original Penn Station, and some people believe the ghost of the station still lingers in the building. There have been reports of strange, unexplained noises, everything from footsteps echoing in empty hallways to whispers that seem to come from nowhere. Some say the spirits of the old Penn Station are still hanging around the arena. So if you're at a concert there, keep your ears open for a little spooky ambiance. And if that wasn't mysterious enough, let's talk about MSG's invisible seats. These are seats with obstructed views, often behind the stage or tucked away in corners, hidden behind pillars or speakers. While these seats might not give you the perfect view of the action, they're often sold at a lower price. It's MSG's little way of keeping things interesting. No matter where you sit, you'll have a unique perspective on the show. Maybe even a little extra ghostly ambiance to go with it. Now, moving over to Radio City Music Hall, home of the world-famous Rockettes, and you'll find some fun facts of its own. First up, did you know there's a height requirement to join the Rockettes? To maintain their signature synchronized formations, the dancers must be between 5'6" and 5'10" tall. It's all about precision. So if you're a tall dancer with dreams of high kicks, this might be your shot at stardom. And speaking of hidden wonders, let's talk about Radio City's Chamber of Secrets. No, it's not from Harry Potter, but this hidden space beneath the theater is like a secret world of its own. Back in the day, it was used to store everything from costumes to props, and it's said to be the place where many legendary mishaps and impromptu performances took place. Imagine secret rehearsals or spontaneous shows happening in these mysterious corridors. Sounds like something out of a backstage drama. So there you have it, Madison Square Garden's ghostly whispers and invisible seats, plus Radio City's Rockette secrets and hidden chambers. Who knew these legendary venues had such mysterious stories to tell? And now, back to our episode. Welcome back, everybody. All right, now let's head uptown to Harlem, to a venue that's more than just a stage. It's a cultural institution, a proving ground, and a launch pad for some of the greatest musicians of all time, the Apollo Theater. This legendary venue has been the heartbeat of Black music and culture since it first opened in 1914. But here's something a lot of people don't know. It wasn't always the Apollo we know today. Originally, it was a burlesque theater, and Black audiences weren't even allowed inside. But that all changed in 1934 when it was reborn as the Apollo Theater, dedicated to showcasing Black talent. From that moment on, it became the place where legends are made. And, if you weren't up to the challenge, where dreams could be crushed in an instant. If you've ever heard of Amateur Night, you already know the Apollo doesn't play. This isn't your average open mic. The crowd at the Apollo is brutally honest. If they love you, you're on your way to stardom. If they don't, well, let's just say you'll be seeing the infamous Sandman, the tap dancing legend whose job was to shuffle bad acts off stage before the booing got too intense. But for those who did impress the Apollo audience, history was made. Here are some artists that got their start at the Apollo. First, Ella Fitzgerald. In 1934, a 17-year-old girl walked onto the Apollo stage for amateur night, terrified but determined. She had planned to dance, but after seeing another act do the same routine that she had prepared, she pivoted on the spot and decided to sing instead. What a great decision. And just like that, the audience fell in love. Ella won that night, and she didn't just win the talent show, she won a future as one of the greatest jazz singers of all time, earning the title the First Lady of Song. Next, we have James Brown and the Famous Flames. The godfather of soul didn't just perform at the Apollo, he immortalized it. In 1962, James Brown recorded live at the Apollo, an album so electrifying that even the record label didn't believe it would sell. But when it dropped, it became one of the greatest live albums of all time, proving that the Apollo wasn't just a venue, it was a force of nature. Next, we have the Jackson 5. Before Michael Jackson moonwalked across stadiums worldwide, he and his brothers took the Apollo stage by storm. Their amateur night performance was so mind-blowing that it helped them land a deal with Motown Records, officially launching them into pop history. And then we got Lauryn Hill. As a young teenager, Lauryn Hill stepped onto the Apollo stage and faced the toughest audience of her life. She started singing, and the crowd booed her. But here's what's incredible. She didn't stop. She powered through, finished her song, and years later came back stronger than ever as one of the greatest voices in hip-hop and R&B. It's proof that even the best can stumble before they soar. Lastly, we have Jimi Hendrix. Yep, even the guitar god himself had to prove himself at the Apollo. Before he set guitars on fire, literally, and redefined rock and roll, he was another young musician hoping to make a name for himself. The Apollo gave him a shot, and the rest, history. Now, here's some fun facts about the Apollo Theater. The Sandman's job was no joke. If you weren't cutting it on stage, the audience didn't just sit there politely. They let you know. And that's where the legendary Sandman Sims came in. If a performer was bombing, he'd tap dance onto the stage, twirl a cane, and escort them off, often to the audience's cheers. Next, if you survive the Apollo, you can survive anything. Seriously. The Apollo audience is one of the toughest, most passionate crowds in the world. So if you can win them over, you know you've got something special. Amateur night is still going strong, and every year, new artists step onto the legendary stage hoping to follow in the footsteps of the greats. Who knows? The next music icon could be performing there right now. The Apollo Theater isn't just a stage, it's a rite of passage. It's where young artists stand in front of one of the toughest crowds in the world and prove they have what it takes. It's where music history is written, erased, and rewritten again. From the smooth sounds of jazz to the raw power of hip-hop, the Apollo has shaped every era of Black music and culture. So whether you're sitting in the audience waiting to cheer or boo, or standing on that stage holding your breath and hoping to make it big, one thing's for sure. The Apollo Theater isn't just a venue, it's a legend. All right, now we're going to be heading downtown to a venue that may be small in size, but is absolutely massive in energy. The Bowery Ballroom. If you're into indie rock, alternative, or just discovering the next big thing before they blow up, this is the place to be. The Bowery Ballroom only holds 575 people, but don't let that fool you. Every show here feels like an underground music revolution. The second you step inside, you're in for something special. The main floor pulls you right up to the stage. The balcony gives you an epic bird's eye view, and the sound? Perfection. With its low ceilings and acoustics that make every guitar riff and drum beat hit just right, it's the kind of place where every show feels like a secret, once-in-a-lifetime experience. Here are some legendary shows at the Bowery Ballroom. This is where future rock icons cut their teeth. Some of the biggest names in indie and alternative music have played intimate, career-launching gigs here before they took over the world. First, The Strokes. Before they were The Strokes, they were just a bunch of NYC kids trying to make it. The Bowery Ballroom was their home base, and it's where they played some of their most unforgettable early shows. Next, we have LCD Sound System. Long before they were headlining festivals and making dance floors explode worldwide, James Murphy and the crew got their start here, turning the Bowery into one giant, sweaty, euphoric dance party. Then, Arcade Fire. These Canadian indie legends brought the house down at the Bowery in their early days, proving that a tiny venue could barely contain their massive anthemic sound. And then we've got Amy Winehouse. Now, this one is the stuff of legend. Just as she was about to take over the world, Amy Winehouse played one of her most iconic U.S. performances here. Her voice, her presence, pure magic. If you were lucky enough to be in that crowd, you witnessed history. All right, now some fun facts about the Bowery Ballroom. It was never supposed to be a music venue. The building was actually meant to be a luxury retail store. But after the 1929 stock market crash, those plans went straight out the window. Instead, it sat unused for decades before being transformed into a music venue in the 90s. And thank rock and roll for that. It's one of the best sounding venues in NYC. Seriously, ask any musician. The acoustics here are next level, which is why so many artists love to play here even after they've made it big. It's indie rock's best kept secret. While bigger venues like Madison Square Garden and Radio City get all the attention, the Bowery Ballroom remains a proving ground for artists on their way to superstardom. If you're seeing a band here, there's a good chance you'll be bragging about it in a few years when they're selling out arenas. It's rare to find a venue that feels this personal. The Bowery Ballroom is the kind of place where you can lock eyes with the singer, feel the bass in your chest, and be part of the moment that feels raw, real, and unforgettable. So whether you're watching a buzzing new band or an established icon coming back for an intimate gig, one thing's for sure, this place is pure magic. Okay, we've rocked out in arenas, danced under the dazzling lights, and soaked up the indie scene. Now it's time to add a little drama. So let's head to Lincoln Center, where elegance, power, and breathtaking talent collide at the Metropolitan Opera House. From the moment you step into the Met, you can feel it. It's like stepping into another world. Massive crystal chandeliers, sweeping staircases, and a golden ceiling that practically glows. This place isn't just a venue, it's a place for the performing arts. If Madison Square Garden is where rock stars prove themselves, the Met is where the most powerful voices on earth take the stage and show what they're made of. Here's some legendary performances at the Met. First, we got Luciano Pavarotti, one of the greatest tenors of all time. Pavarotti's performances here were the stuff of legend, and when he sang, the entire opera house held its breath. Next, Maria Callas, the ultimate opera diva. Her performances were so intense, so emotional that people could walk out shaken, and she knew how to command a stage like no one else. Then we've got Placido Domingo and Renee Fleming, two opera giants whose voices have echoed through the Met, giving audiences goosebumps with every note. And also, we have Hollywood comes to the Met. You've probably seen the Metropolitan Opera House even if you've never been there. It's been in movies like Moonstruck, Black Swan, and The Godfather Part 3. Nothing says drama like a Met opera scene. Now here's some fun facts about the Metropolitan Opera House. The chandeliers are out of this world. Those stunning space-age looking chandeliers in the lobby, they were a gift from Austria. Every night before a performance, they slowly rise up to the ceiling. It's like watching the stars take their places. It's the largest opera house in the world. With 3,800 seats and a stage big enough to fit a small village, the Met is massive. But thanks to its genius design, every note reaches every seat perfectly, so no microphones are needed. That's cool. The orchestra pit is next level at the Met. The Met's orchestra isn't just a backup band, it's one of the best orchestras in the world. And the pit? It can hold over 100 musicians. Also, they have had real animals on stage. The Met doesn't do small. Their productions have featured horses, camels, even falcons flying over the audience. My mom would hate that so much. She hates birds. So, good thing we're not going to a show at the Met. If opera had a go big or go home rule, the Met would be its capital. The Metropolitan Opera House is a place where music, art, and storytelling come together in the most spectacular way possible. It's where the world's greatest voices bring passion, heartbreak, and triumph to life without a single microphone, which I think is cool. Whether you're a lifelong opera fan or a total newbie, one night at the Met is enough to make anyone fall in love with the power of live music. So if you ever find yourself in New York City and want to experience something absolutely breathtaking, grab a ticket, dress up a little, and get ready to be transported. Too bad I don't have time to go to the Met. At the Met, every performance is history in the making. All right, just like that, our backstage tour of New York City's most iconic music venues comes to an end. From the electrifying energy of Madison Square Garden to the glitz and glamour of Radio City Music Hall, the soulful energy of the Apollo Theater, the indie magic of the Bowery Ballroom, and the breathtaking grandeur of the Metropolitan Opera House. These venues aren't just buildings, they're temples of music history. Each one has shaped artists, hosted unforgettable performances, and given us moments that will live on forever. So whether you dream of rocking out in front of 20,000 screaming fans, dazzling the audience with a show-stopping performance, or discovering the next big thing before they make it big, New York City is the place where music dreams come to life. Don't go too far, because next week, we're keeping it in NYC. I'll be talking about one of my absolute favorite artists who calls this city home, the one and only Alicia Keys. From her powerful vocals to her iconic anthem, Empire State of Mind, we'll dive into her incredible career, her biggest hits, and why she's the ultimate NYC artist. So make sure you're subscribed, and as always, keep the music in you. Peace out, everybody. This has been the Music in Me podcast. Subscribe now so you don't miss a beat.